Hi everyone, it's Mitch here with the Puck Dogs, and it is Thursday, April the 9th, 2020. We are almost a full month since the NBA shut down and everyone else quickly followed. Of course, just a few different sports going on. We're covering them all at Sports Chat Place and at Pick Dogs, so be sure to check those out on a daily basis. Covering Chinese basketball, Belarus soccer, you name it. If it's out there, we're covering it. Sim games, video games, boring ass crap, whatever. Well, wherever it is, it's better than nothing, right? At this point is kind of what we've been saying. So we'll continue to try and do the best that we can with what we've got. But today we're just going to talk about the estimates for when things are coming back. So outside of the Notre Dame athletic director, now Mack Brown has said the same thing about college football. While I do believe those two guys are in the minority, and I think that we should all be writing these guys letters. What I'll do is I'll find out how to contact Mack Brown and also the Notre Dame athletic department and ask them who they think they are and what gives them the right to play God in this situation and speak for all of the millions of fans across the world who I'm going to guess are probably pretty interested in seeing sports, even though these guys aren't, with fans in the stadium or without fans in the stadium at this point. But yeah, looking like possible YouTube not updating. Let's see what we have going on here. Nope, absolutely, it's working now. But anyways, we're gonna go over this stuff. Like I said, I'll try and get that information. I'll try and get that information how we can contact everyone that's against having sports without fans in the stands, saying that they shouldn't have sports at all. If it's a safety concern, that's one thing. If it's just because you think that it's better without fans in the stands to just have no sports at all, let's let them know exactly what we think about that. Because I'm going to take a poll of, 1 million people that read our website every month, or 3 million people, and I'm going to guess that it's going to be 98% plus. I'm going to say that it'll be close to 100%. We'll say they'd rather see games with no fans in the stands than no games at all. So I don't know what these guys are talking about. But we've had some updates from some of the major sports out there. And before we get into those, let's just talk about quickly the events that have just flat out canceled. Number one, Tokyo Olympics, and that's going to be held next year. I'm not a big fan of the Olympics, so I wouldn't even notice if they had it or didn't have it, to be honest with you. British Open, the oldest of the golf tournaments. Wimbledon, so another European. Euro 2020, another European thing canceled. I believe that will be played next year. Same thing with the Tokyo Olympics. Copa America probably be played next year as well. And then the XFL, they canceled the remainder of their season. So those are the things that have been canceled. The things that have been postponed with no updates are the Champions League, the Premier League, La Liga, Serie A, Europa League, the European Tour, that's golf, the Preakness Stakes, WNBA, and Formula One racing. So there's no updates on any of those. But we can get to the sports where we're kind of having that don't have any change as to when they're going to go. So the first one, the one that is set to go the soonest is the Belmont Stakes, and that's June 6th. So it would be definitely a different type of situation if they ran the Belmont Stakes on June 6th as opposed to the third leg of the Triple Crown. That would make it the first, unless the Preakness decides that they're going to go. The Preakness hasn't updated. Of course, the Kentucky Derby generally is the first Saturday in May. Chris, what do you think about having a 1.5-mile race to start the Triple Crown? I know you're not a horse racing guy.
You know what? I'm not a horse racing guy, but for the sake of people who are horse racing people, if it means shifting stuff around so that you get all 3 legs of the Triple Crown in, then I'm all for it.
I have to say that I'd be against having the Belmont first. Rod, how about you?
Yeah, that would be kind of weird having the Belmont first. How does that work?
It doesn't logistically make sense, because the thing is that 3-year-old horses and 2-year-old horses, as the 2-year-olds come in, they lengthen the races a little bit for each one. So like when you start to look at these Derby prep races, they're like 1 1/8. And then of course the Kentucky Derby is 1.25 miles. Then the Preakness is 1 3/8, and the Belmont's 1.5 miles. So having the 1.5 miles first kind of doesn't do that. Kind of takes the logical progression
work up
out.
to getting to 1.5 miles.
I think it's a great time to eliminate the Preakness as one of the Triple Crown races, though. I think it's a great time to do that. I've thought that just like the PGA Championship shouldn't be part of the golf Grand Slam, it should be the Players Championship. I think that the Preakness as well for horse racing. It should be a California race, in there at Santa Anita instead.
Yeah.
It's just me. But then you would have to go East Coast, West Coast, back to the East Coast. But so what? These horses travel around.
You're going to get some long. I think we're going to end up with like some long shot, because don't horses, they take time to train and work up to these races? Like, don't they have other little meets and tracks? Don't they just to drop?
Well, the horses will be, they're doing the Derby prep races now. So.
Well, yeah, so that down the road when the Derby actually hits, these horses aren't going to be in top peak running like they normally would be.
But the race won't be handicapped based on the performances now. It'll be based on how those horses are training then.
Oh, yeah.
That'll definitely do
it. Yeah.
So we'll go to the most recent, what's coming up next. And the next thing coming up is April 18th. So next week, UFC is going. Chris, what do you think about the way the UFC is doing it?
Well, I think I mentioned it in one of the comments of the Facebook group. I'm interested to see how this is going to be run. I mean, someone else said Dana White's either an idiot or a genius, and at this point we're gonna figure out how it's run. I have no idea. I know he's securing a private island where creepy people, quote unquote, can't get to, but like I said, I just want to see how the production's going to be, how this is actually going to be run.
Rod, what do you think of this UFC going next week?
Well, he's got the money, so that's why he was able to get an island, and it's something to watch.
I believe the UFC is a publicly held company, so I'm not sure it's his money. I think this is the public's
money. Okay, well then he took that money for the proceeds from all the other UFCs that he's made over however long.
Well, I think that the way that they make money in other ways too. But I think that the UFC, I'm pretty sure what this is a bet that the cost of running the event is going to be lower than the income that it's going to bring in, and I think that's all that this is, and that's the bet. And is that the bet is that they can do this in a way that works, based on the cards that we've been dealt, because we are dealing with a smaller amount of people than most sports. There's only 2 people in each match. It's not like, it's not like 53 players on a roster plus coaches. We're talking 2 people plus a couple of trainers.
5 guys. Well, yeah. So you got like
a ref,
10 guys
and trainers. We're talking, less than, probably you could probably do it with less than 10 people. as opposed to the NFL, which would be 53 plus coaches and trainers and everything else, referees. So I think it's a good testing ground to start on, and I say kudos to UFC for at least giving it a shot and seeing if it can be done. I mean, this event could we still got plenty of time for this event to get canceled. We got 9 days, and events have been canceled a lot more recent than 9 days, before they happen. It could happen the night before, right? It happened in the NCAA tournaments this year. It happened in the NBA. I mean, players were on the court when they canceled games. So it's not like games can't. It's not like it still can't get canceled. But I think, here's a guy that's at least come up with some kind of solution, and has said, I'm willing to give it a shot. And let's see where it goes from there. And I think that, while people are looking at other China and places like that, I think this is the real first beta test, as to the single location quarantine environment model.
Yeah.
The next one is NFL draft. And this one is already, like becoming an issue, where exactly who's going to be allowed in these war rooms and how the war rooms are going to work and all kinds of stuff like that. There's already a lot of discussion about this. So while the NFL draft is set to go, it'll be interesting to see how it's done. I don't think that this is something that all needs to be done in one room. The big production that they made it into. I think that the NFL draft has been blown up over the years, and this is easily something that's done teleconferencing, just like we do this show. I do. I don't see why it couldn't be done that way. But I know that it'd basically be a Zoom call of all of the people from an NFL team that are in the decision-making process. And then basically a Skype type thing, and they don't have to use Skype. We're probably not going to be using Skype forever either. We're probably going to switch to something else soon. But it's, it can be done that way. This is not really like playing the game out on the field. But the first team event that looks to be scheduled and looks to be ready to go is the Bundesliga, German Bundesliga. Beginning of May is when they say they're going to go. So we're talking just a few weeks away where the Bundesliga is ready to go. Chris, you think they're going to be able to pull it off? The Germans super meticulous by reputation.
I think they're going to be able to get it going faster than other countries like Italy or Spain, who are struggling with the virus right now. Like Italy's, has the highest or second highest death toll since this started, and Spain's under complete lockdown. I know Spain does have 3 potential return dates that they have lined up for late May and somewhere in June. But I do think that Germany's going to probably be the first European league to resume. England still doesn't have a plan much in place either. They're struggling to sort of get a contingency plan going. I do think Germany's going to be the first to get up and running.
Rod?
Yeah, I think so too. I think Germans are definitely very meticulous, and that's okay. They'll definitely have the precautions in place to get people watching their sport, watching their soccer over there, for sure. But that's the biggest whole thing where people are missing sports.
Next one is going to be MLS on May 10th. So this would be the first of the U.S. Multiplayer games out there. They're talking May 10th. Right? You're going to be...
I don't see that. MLS, because you have to go... There's a couple Canadian teams in the MLS. There's 3 MLS Canadian teams. So how do you do that? The border's still closed. We're not like, how do you get them from Canada to there, or from wherever they are to the things? I don't unless they play them all in a little area. But they haven't said that. I don't. Yeah, I don't see them starting when they say they're going to start. That I don't see.
Yeah, I think that one's going to be interesting, to see how it how it plays out. That's for sure.
If they do that, that's great for baseball because that's outside a bunch. I don't think there's any indoor MLS arenas. I think that's all outdoors.
Well, I know Atlanta plays at the Mercedes-Benz Superdome, where the Falcons play, and I'm pretty sure Vancouver plays in a dome.
Well, sort of. They have that BC plays half dome.
BC plays, yeah.
Yeah. But it'd be good testing to see if
it would be, yeah.
Work. Like if things work there, then I think if they see, if all the other leagues see that this is working really viably, then I think they all jump in and everybody will follow.
I think it's a huge chance for the MLS as well. This is something that I have to say, of all the sports that we cover at Sports Chat Place and Pick Dogs, really one of the most lightly followed. I know that the fans that they put fans in the stands for these games, that people that go to these games are excited. The people that are excited about it are excited about it. No doubt about that. But the thing is that I don't think that they've reached the larger masses that they think they have. And I think that's why, they kind of dress it up. They make it these smaller stadiums, right? In Chicago, they don't play at Soldier Field, They have their own stadium, and it's like Chicago's one of the biggest backed MLS teams, right? They don't play it at Soldier. They play it at, Toyota Park, 5,000 seat stadium or something.
I think the biggest news that the MLS had in the history that made them known was when Beckham played for the Galaxy. And then they got a little bit of notoriety, but other than that,
there's been attempts at U.S. soccer leagues in the past too, and I don't know. I think this is one of those things. It's kind of like the Belarus soccer and the Chinese basketball. It's like I think it will have an effect if they can get out of the gate first, but especially the first few weeks. And this is really a gigantic chance for this league if they can get it done. If they don't get it done, they're going to be where they're going to be. And, I think the MLS has grown organically. I think in places like Cincinnati, you see the followings that are, they're fanatical. But once again, it's a very small base. It's not. They're not packing the Jerry Dome, for these games. They're not. But maybe they would. Maybe they would meet that mass appeal. And the thing is, the time of year that they play, it kind of sets up for them to be successful, especially if the NBA doesn't move their season permanently. The next one up is the PGA Tour, and to me, this is the one that I honestly don't see why they're not playing.
Yeah, me too.
I think that social distancing in golf is pretty easy to stay outside of the 6 feet. The issues in golf, the only sanitary issues, there's only two really that I see in all of golf, outside of the social distancing aspect. So that would make it a third. But one is well, there's three then outside of that: the flagstick, the cup, and the rake in the sand. Those are the only three things. So there's the flagstick, the cup, and the rake in the sand. And all of those things, there's a solution to. Number one, have the players carry their own portable rakes, the caddies, to carry their own rakes, and have a rake that, maybe is a contract and expand type thing. If it's a lighter weight than a standard rake in a sand trap. I know it may or may not work. It's probably something that, needs a little bit of testing. I know there's different sand. I'm a golfer, so I know when you play in different courses. Even here in Maui, the sand at Kapalua is different than the sand at Wailea, and the sand at Maui Nui is different than both of those. There's a red sand, and then there's a white sand, and it's like Some are heavier, and some are softer, some are fluffier, some are thicker. But I do think that there's a way around this, and I do think that there's, even if they had several rakes at each hole, and maybe not, at the bunker like they have them standard. You can sanitize the rakes after they're used each time. There's a way to do that and kind of remove the rakes and things like that. As far as the cup and the flag stick, the same thing. Clorox wipes, do wonders, and I think that they would gladly pick up the PGA Tour as a sponsorship opportunity. I think that them or Purell or somebody like that would gladly take that opportunity, especially if that's all that's going on. Because I watched the '86 Masters yesterday, and I very much plan on watching the '97 Masters, today.
Right. What they did with the bunkers, they did rake the bunkers. If you got just before they canceled it, they stopped the rakes out of the bunk. I think maybe they had one guy do it. Like the caddy wasn't raking, the golfer wasn't raking, they weren't touching rakes before they canceled the tour, because when they kicked everybody out for that second round or whatever of that tournament, when all this went down, there was no rake. I think they had one PGA dude who raked the bunker.
There's a solution also where you just have a guy, a couple of people like volunteers that all they do is they rake that are there, kind of like tennis ball boys that would rake. There's another solution for that. And I think taking the ball out of the cup is the main thing here, and the flag stick. And these are things that that we dealt with here in Maui. And what they did is they put a foam insert inside the cup, and instead of it being that deep, it was just a small amount. And I didn't see it giving anything away, but these guys, they might say it does. Who knows? But I think that there is some solutions here on the cup, and almost maybe if they came up with a liner, kind of like those liners that they have like on the airplane on the toilet seat, something like that for the golfer, where it's like after you pull you pull the liner out. I mean, I don't know. Hey, you got any of those toilet seat covers? Poke. I want to poke my head out the door, even though they have the covers, just to say that, just to see what would happen. Hey, you got any of those covers out there? Move on. NASCAR. This is another one where I think the social distancing aspect basically takes care of itself. I think that the pit crews and everything is the piece of this that might be the missing piece, and that once again is a quarantine type situation where I think that there is a finite amount of people, and and they can be tested. Like I said, everything else kind of takes care of itself. So that I don't see. I'm not sure why they've canceled anyway. We got the Belmont June 6th. We talked about that one. IndyCar June 6th. We talked about that already. Arena Football League June 11th. Now here, this could be another test, kind of like of a team sport, smaller rosters inside, smaller stadiums. This should be another, one that they should be thinking about. But once again, as you get into any rosters, that are bigger than a player or two, it could be, who knows what kind of can of worms are opening up. This is all more of a health and safety concern than some of the other ones. And as we get into these other team sports, you go to a single location, I don't know how many Arena League teams there are, but this is another sport that could definitely see a spike in viewership. And whether it's something they could sustain or not, I don't really know. But now let's get to one of the bigger sports here, and that's the NBA. And Chris, June 14th is what the NBA is saying right now. That's an estimate.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that the NBA can at least pick up the regular season. If you have guys saying that they'll feel that the season is just incomplete without finishing it off. So, I mean, you're looking at certain question marks, like, will they have like rapid test options for guys to get tested for coronavirus with, like the diabetic people get, the prick of their finger to test their blood sugar. And it kind of results in 15 minutes. But at that point, again, it's like you said, if you're having teams that are above one or two people, or rosters that are above one or two people, you're kind of opening a can of worms. Like, well, what if one player has it, and what if the test fails, and then you've opened it up to two teams? But like I said, I hope that the NBA can figure something out, and they've said they want to be the big proponent for an economical restart once the league starts picking up again. So I think Adam Silver has it right, but it's just a matter of actually getting there.
Yeah. He's got a big help with the president there. I think he wants NBA to come back first.
Well, I think everybody wants the NBA. I think
from his.
The NBA is the most popular sport. I mean, a lot of people say it's the NFL, but it's not. It's absolutely not.
Yeah.
When I can gauge the interest on these sports, based upon what I see the interest in at our websites and other websites I've been at throughout the years. And I can tell you the NBA is super popular. Global.
They're also NBA is also looking at like a tournament style, just like the March Madness tournament for the playoffs, held in one location. Everybody plays together. Like how many NBA games are left in this season? And I don't even know how far they got through. Over half, so 3/4, kind of like the NHL.
More than that even.
Yeah, I think they were closer to like between 68 and 70.
I just squeeze all that many regular season games back in.
We go to the NHL. June 15th is the estimate. So the thing is that we are talking June with a lot of these sports, and we talked to a few that are April as well, And here we are. It's April 9th. So it's been tough. It's been a tough month. It's been a tough month for all of us. I've not complained about it at all. Would I rather have sports? Absolutely. But we're not going to sit here and say, oh, I miss sports. It's like it doesn't help anybody, right? But believe me, I miss it too. And, I miss having the coverage. And I also miss all the people that come to the site and, all the people that come to the show and the Facebook group and everything. I mean, we've pretty much, I know when things get going again, people are going to come back to the show and come back to the website and things like that. But it's like, I'd rather have it and do it sooner rather than later. This is what I do, So, but, so a month away at this point, it's like we've gotten through some of the hard parts. We've already gotten through that. There isn't going to be a March Madness. There isn't going to be, Kentucky Derby on the first Saturday in May. There isn't going to be a British Open. But you know what? We still have some sports that we could look forward to. I don't understand these college football commissioners. I mean, I don't. And I think that we should, as fans, should bond together. And it's something that I think I will continue to say. And I'm going to get some information as to people we should be writing to. That we'll get their emails and we'll just flood them, Let's say, what in the hell are you talking about? I mean, you need to get your head examined, It's like, this is seriously the talk that Bob Bowlesby of the Big 12 is concerned that if they play the season, that they're not going to make as much money as they normally would. This is seriously the talk. And it's like, this is like when Latrell Sprewell said, I need enough money I got to put food on the table for my family when he turned down, the $18 million contract, right? And he wanted $23 million or whatever it was. I need to feed my family. It's like you have 700,000 people that applied for mortgage assistance in the United States, right? And that was this month. I'm going to guess that in the next one, it's going to be closer to 2 or 3 million people are going to ask for like forgiveness on their mortgage. It's not forgiveness, but like they get I guess you can apply and get a period where you don't have to pay your mortgage for like 3 months.
Yeah, like a deferral period.
Yeah, like a deferral period or something. I'm not really sure, but thankfully I haven't hit that point yet. But if you have and you need it, by all means. I mean, it's like I get it. I fully get it, and it's like how these people could complain about that they're only going to get 10 million instead of 24 million. It's like, does that? I don't get it. So the losses are going to be between 15 to 18 million. The Big 12 basketball tournament that they lost 6.6 million. You guys were greedy pigs for years, forever, right? Right. The NCAA, they never had to pay their talent. They sold themselves out. Right? These higher learning institutions sold themselves out for sports, and now that they're not getting these, now that they can't extort student athletes and the public anymore, they're complaining about it. It's like, you know what? You have an obligation to the public. These are the people that supported you all those years.
Well, yeah. And you pay out nothing. It's like you get to put on the big show and collect all this money, and
Oklahoma,
you don't have to put anything.
Oklahoma received a distribution of $36.6 million in overages from 2018. And they're complaining, that they're...
Hey.
I mean, that's what these are for. I think the TV rights more than cover this stuff. Anyways, NHL June 15th. What are you guys hearing about the NHL?
Well, the North Dakota is being looked at as the possible destination for playoff games. Where the Fighting Hawks hockey team plays the University of North Dakota. Their arena, they got 8 NHL ready locker rooms. 2 sheets of ice so that you can have 2 games going on at once. I think Zach Parise, who went to North Dakota, said it's better than any NHL dressing room he's ever seen. So they're prepared to host these.
Well, it was North Dakota and North Dakota State, right?
Yeah, no, this is the University of North Dakota.
The Fighting Hawks.
Yeah. I mean, the only issue is, making sure that North Dakota is actually willing to host these events. I mean, I think I read that they have the 4th lowest population density in the U.S., so that's the reason that they're being looked at for hosting these games. The problem is, does North Dakota, Grand Forks, they have enough hotel availability? Are they willing to host these events? There's just other kinks that have to be worked out, but I think it would be a great idea if they can at least finish out the season, finish at least the playoffs in this facility.
For what I'm hearing, NHL is trying to the early rounds of the playoffs. They'll try to do in like 4 different cities. So you'll have like the North Dakota is one, and then they'll have them out in like 4 different cities to do the early rounds of the playoffs when you got more teams. And then when it comes down to the later round, probably isolated roll 8-1 in North Dakota type thing. But as Batman says, there's no chance there's no way they can squeeze in the rest of a regular season. It's going to be playoffs when NHL comes back. Elimination playoff thing they're talking about, but I don't see them resuming a regular season. They just don't have the time. There's no time in there to finish the rest of the 7 or 8 games or 9 games that some teams have left.
I think that they'll come up with a plan, and it'll have to be. I think the NBA and the NHL have a similar dilemma there, and that's like you can't just end the season and go into the playoffs because you have some teams that were seriously in contention. And I think what you do is you take those bottom teams you have certain teams that were in, right, and like the Red Wings, right, they were in, right.
Totally, definitely.
They had a puncher's chance.
But I think you take the teams that were in, that were in, and you basically draw a line down the middle, and you say, I don't know how many teams are in the NHL playoffs, but I'm going to guess it's
16.
16.
Yeah, eight per conference.
All right, so you take 4 per conference and you lock them in as these are the 4 that are definitely in for each conference, and then you have a 2 out of 3 for the other spots with the you can't just have the 1 game elimination. I don't like that idea. I think 2 out of 3 is
what they're taking the top 8 teams that are already in the playoffs now that they've earned it by playing the regular season, and they're sitting first to 8. Those 16 teams move like they'll move on. They'll move on. The 6 teams or whatever.
I don't.
They're only trying to figure out. It'll be a wild card playoff spot.
I don't think any of those teams at the bottom half had locked in their spot. So it's like I think maybe the first 4, but it's like then make the other ones earn it in. And they play kind of a seeding system based upon who's at the bottom, and it's like you can't just give it to them.
No, I'm not going to give it to everybody. But
we'll have updates on this. I'm going to guess over the next week. We're going to have a lot of updates on this stuff. Major League Baseball talking June 16th, middle of June. I think this is starting to look like a reality to me. When you start talking about fairly firm plans, or firm ideas, I think starting the season in Arizona is the idea. Rod was talking about the heat in Arizona and whatever. And it's like,
who cares?
Too bad. It's like,
too bad.
That's
get out there and play.
And it's you figure it out, and then as things progress and as things change, you can always adjust. So, and then we have June 18th, the LPGA, sort of like the PGA Tour. I feel it's a very similar situation. Then we have the Canadian Football League on July 1st saying they're going to go. So we'll have to see because Canada was one of the first to really shut down the borders and stuff. I don't know what the cases are looking like over there. Has it flatlined? Has anything? I don't know.
I don't think it's flatlined.
No, you think it's still going up?
I know for us, our case numbers are still going up, but the percentages aren't going up per day. Like we're starting to the percentage of new cases is starting to go down, but we're still having a couple hundred a day.
I just know when I seen it last, it was 12,000. We're almost at 20. That was about 5 days ago. So in 5 days, you've almost doubled. But for us in Canada, it's different because we have diversity in Ontario area. So the population density is insane. For us here in Alberta, the population's spread out a little more.
Yeah.
Because we have the area. That's the only difference. It's not spreading as rapid here as what it is in Ontario and Quebec. Quebec, like, holy man.
Quebec, it's like wildfire.
Oh, yeah.
Ontario hasn't been as bad, but yeah, Quebec, it's been spreading like wildfire from what I've seen out there.
So maybe Canadian football may be further off than what they're saying. Maybe that might be canceled. We'll have to see. Tennis, July 13th is the estimate. Tennis was one of the first ones to cancel. They said at the time, mid-May. They've now moved back to July. Once again, limited amount of players. You have limited amounts of players, and limited amounts of players on the court, but that social distancing and net play super tough to make that call. If you are actually social distanced, 100% of the time, and then you have the ball,
Oh yeah,
is the other factor here. So
I'm like a big old sweaty hand or
sweat. Oh no, absolutely. There are issues here. So, but the thing is that you can you can use sanitized tennis balls. It's like they use 1 million tennis balls over a thing. They can certainly be sanitizing these things as they go. I think the key here is is finding some sort of cure, and I think they will find a cure. I'm a big believer. I've said this from day one. When people said, "Oh, the NBA season's canceled," it's not canceled; it's postponed. And I'm a big believer. It's like, how many cases of the smallpox have we seen? How many cases of swine flu? I had the bird flu. I had it, so it's like I know. Anyways, PGA Championship August 6th through 9th. This is a rescheduled as well. I think that this is probably good to go. I think when we start talking August, if we're not back up and running by then, we're going to lose the whole year. We'll lose the NFL. We're going to lose everything. It's like if things aren't by August 6th, if they can't run a golf tournament, we're going to be in bigger trouble than we're ready for at this point. FedEx playoffs, same thing, August 13th through the 7th, and then the Indy 500, August 23rd. Once again, auto racing in that same category. Now we start getting into football, and college football, week 0, August 29th. Now we're starting to get into that area where, you have Dabo Swinney, who's like, I haven't heard anything different, and then you have Mac Brown and Notre Dame both saying, that they don't want to have a season if there's no fans. It's like it's ridiculous, for them to say that. Then U.S. Open tennis, it's kind of like the rest of tennis. College football week 1 on September 5th, which is no change. The Kentucky Derby September 5th. The Canelo Triple G fight on September 12th. That is another one that could have no fans in the stands for that type of thing. Kentucky Derby, that, like I said, they would have to shift. They should shift the rest of the races. U.S. Open Golf, September 17th through the 20th. Wow, did they move the U.S. Open back? I guess they did. French Open, September 20th to October 4th, so they've moved it way back. The Ryder Cup is saying they're going September 25th to the 27th. Wilder Fury, early October. Breeders' Cup, no date change. The Masters rescheduled for November 12th to 15th. My guess, still going to be a little chilly there in Georgia. That'll be interesting, like right around that Thanksgiving time. And then all the soccer leagues that have been postponed, WNBA, and kind of the other things that we talked about at the beginning. So that's pretty much the update as to where sports are right now. And I think this is something that we'll probably talk about a lot, in the coming weeks. I think we will start to hear more and more and more, and at least some firm decisions, firmer plans. And whether those plans need to be adjusted, then they'll adjust. But anyways, let's get to the Sims picks. Who won yesterday, Chris? What was the scoreboard?
So yesterday, the Panthers beat the Falcons 27-17. Dallas beat the Steelers 20-16.
So that was a cover by the Steelers getting the 4.5.
Yeah. New England beat Buffalo 38-16. And Kansas City beat the Chiefs Kansas City beat the Chargers 59-30.
So it was a clean sweep here by me yesterday. I was 4-0. I had the Panthers, Steelers plus the 4.5, the Patriots, and the Chiefs. So sweep by me.
Yep. Oh,
Oh, that was the penny actually. The penny I did the penny. So the penny had the
penny
clean
was-
sweep. So what do we got?
All right.
What do we got for today, Chris? I'll stick with the
Today,
penny. I'm
Patriots-
4-0. I might as well keep going.
Today, Patriots at Giants. Patriots -7, over under 60.5.
Giants are home team.
Yeah.
Rod, who do you like? I got the Giants.
I'm gonna take the Patriots.
I got the Giants. Patriots on a back-to-back. Chris, who do you
Yeah, I'm on
like?
the Patriots.
Any next game?
I'm-
Okay.
I'm on the Patriots. Well, the Giants haven't been playing well with these simulations, and New England's been good offensively. 3:00 Eastern. Tampa Bay at Oakland. Tampa Bay -2, over under 57.5.
I like
Oakland.
Oakland plus the 2.
Tampa Bay.
I said, give me Oakland money line, even better.
I got Tampa Bay
Yeah.
in this one.
I like Tampa Bay. 2 winless teams, but I think Tampa Bay has been more competitive, so I'll take Tampa Bay.
Okay.
7:00 Eastern. Green Bay at Atlanta. Green Bay -2.5. Over under 62.5.
Atlanta's the home
Green
team.
Bay.
Who do you got, Rod?
Green Bay -2.5.
I like the under 62.5.
I got Atlanta, the home team.
And last at 10:00, Seattle at the Rams. Seattle -2.5. Over under 59.5.
Seattle -2.5.
Yeah, I'm on Seattle as well.
You got I dropped it. I'll do it again. I got Seattle in this one too. All right. So what are the
That's how
lines
much we know
again? So
you
I have the lines because I have the Giants. What are they, plus or minus?
+7.
Tampa Bay.
Plus 1.5.
Tampa
Minus
Bay
2.
-2.
-2.
Yeah, -2.
Atlanta
+2.5.
and Seattle.
-2.5.
All right. Lucky penny, a perfect 4-0 in sim picks. All right. Thanks to everyone for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow with another show. And we'll see you then. Have a great day, everyone.